So, here we are now, the series finale of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Hard to believe that I've followed this show for almost a decade. So, did the show end well? Let's take a look at what is somewhat appropriate titled The Ending of the End. The great thing about the ending of the end is that they did a majority of the legwork throughout the season. Since Cozy, Glow, Tyrek and Chrissy got a couple of episodes devoted to their themes, they can jump right into the plot. This is often a problem with the two-parters of the show. Part 1 usually has to do all the heavy lifting, introducing us to new characters and the conflict, which often leads to a rushed resolution in Part 2. But now, since they already took care of that stuff in previous episodes, it leaves much more time to develop the actual conflict itself, resulting in really good pacing. Like, at no point did it feel like the episode is wasting my time, and it didn't feel rushed either, so that's pretty great. Now the episode immediately starts with our three villains turning against Grogar and use the power of his belt to suck out his magic, only to reveal that Grogar was actually this god in disguise the entire time, and there's the first point of contention. You might consider it an interesting twist. It was certainly unexpected, and unlike the subversion of expectations in Game of Thrones Season 8, it actually serves a purpose. Having to deal with both Grogar and the three Caballeros here in just 2 episodes would result in a way too overcrowded finale. There are 2 ways to handle this. Either you make Chrissy, Tyrek and Cozy Glow Grogar's pawns like they teased in the season premiere, or you take Grogar out of the equation. And to some degree, having those 3 betray Grogar was a good decision, as it avoids that dreadful villain decay. I went on record saying that demoting Tyrek to just a henchman when he was previously portrayed as the ultimate villain cheapens his character a lot. The same also somewhat applies to Chrissy and Cozy, though to a lesser degree, as Cozy was never that threatening to begin with, and Chrissy has been on a downward spiral ever since she was defeated in Season 6. But since they get rid of Grogar and form a big back ensemble for the series finale, it actually restores their former glory, as Tyrek is now as much of a threat as he was in Twilight's Kingdom, while Cozy and Chrissy arguably reach new heights. And if Grogar was real, this would have been a very anticlimactic way to deal with his character. This way they at least establish that Grogar was indeed a powerful villain in the past, but don't waste him just to power up the other villains. It seems like a waste to me because I really would have liked to see Grogar in action. I actually watched the G1 episodes he appeared in and he had quite the menacing presence. Furthermore, they get rid of Discord's nasty chaos magic this way, removing the plot armor of our heroes. Though I do think it's debatable how much they needed to do that, considering that Tyrek managed to deal with Discord before. Which brings us to one of the most annoying plot holes in this episode.
We should take the magic inside it. You know how powerful Discord was. That much chaos magic in our veins.
But taking it all would be madness. It's impossible for any other creature to control.
Yeah, you didn't seem to have a problem with that in Twilight's Kingdom, and you had no trouble using it back then. Not to mention that you received a part of Discord's magic back in the beginning of the end with no side effects either. It is like in School Race, where I wonder if the writers of the episode even watched prior episodes or just got some cliff notes to work with. What makes it worse is that they later even bring up that Tyrek betrayed Discord back in Season 4.
He's lying. He won't tell us.
I certainly won't tell you after the way you lied to me last time we teamed up, you muscle-bound cretin.
It wouldn't bother me so much as they wouldn't emphasize the entire time that no one but Discord can use it, to the point that Discord later used it as a bargaining chip. I mean, first of all, I'm not sure how much of a difference it would make if they had Discord's magic, considering that they already are more powerful than anything else. Besides that, they could have simply handled it like the magic of Celestia and Luna later on, that they agreed to split it up later, so that one of them doesn't end up being more powerful than the rest of them and betrays the others. Those 3 don't exactly trust each other after all. That being said, Cozy trying to use Discord's magic was rather hilarious.
I guess if you need a guinea pig to find out if any pony can use chaos magic, I'll volunteer.
Fools! Now I have more power than all of you!
she is no good. Also, is it just me, or does she look like an evil version of Mary Sue? Well, and close to the end, Pinkie actually gets to hold Groger's bell for a hot minute and uses Discord's chaos magic. Sadly, she doesn't transform into an Alicorn like she did in the comics when that happened, though she seemingly took that form willingly and only grew in size before that like she did here, so I suppose we could consider this a comic reference. And speaking of comics, remember how everything about Sombra and the Sirens contradicted their Fiendship is Magic issue? Well, they actually sort of made Tyrek's canon. Okay, not really, but Discord name-drops Tyrek's father.
You're right. Cretin is too polite. How about pathetic centaur, who uses magic to compensate for the fact that deep down, he's afraid he'll never be enough to please dear old dad? King Vorak?
Vorak was actually introduced and named in Tyrek's issue. Furthermore, Discord makes a small cameo at Vorak's court, explaining how he knows him. I know that the show doesn't keep up with the comics and therefore seldom acknowledge them, making the few times they do kinda cool by default. And while we are at random references, the amulet Growcord is carrying is actually the Flesh Stone from G1. I would love to tell you that I noticed that myself, but that would be a lie. You see, when the series finale was leaked, they also leaked the script for it, and the script suggests that it could be the Flesh Stone, and when you compare the two, they look identical, so that's kinda neat. Sometimes they do their homework. Anyway, one thing I haven't quite addressed yet is the obvious flaw in Discord's plan. It's freaking stupid. I mean, I'm not really talking about the whole bringing back villains to boost Twilight's confidence thing. That one is rather twisted, but at least makes somewhat sense in some way. I mean, why Celestia didn't set up the challenges on purpose is that basically the reason given why she never intervened before. In particular during the Crystal Empire, where they treated Sombra's first return as a freaking test, risking the lives of the main six, Galen, Shining Armor, and all the Crystal Ponies. Like really, Celestia doesn't have that much of a moral high ground here as she thinks she has. At least Discord was capable to take care of Sombra with a finger snap if things were to go down south. If Twilight had failed in the Crystal Empire, they would have all been dead, enslaved or worse, because Celestia thought it would be a great test for Twilight. But the whole bringing back Tyrek, Chrissy and Cozy, force them to work together and lets them unsupervised for what must have been months, then sends them on a mission to retrieve an item that is powerful enough to steal your own magic, and don't double check if those guys lie to you when they tell you that they failed to retrieve it. Like, he only needs a finger snap to fact check if the bell is still on the top of that mountain, and he could have simply watched them from a safe distance the entire time. I'm okay with Discord making mistakes, but this seems a bit too contrived, in particular since Tyrek can quickly become a threat to Discord himself even without the bell, as long as he absorbs enough power, so you want to keep an eye on him in particular at all times. So yeah, I think the reveal that Groger is actually Discord is somewhat of a mixed bag. It really depends how you look at it. I think it was, in so far, a good decision as it allowed Tyrek, Cozy and Chrissy to shine, and these three were splendid throughout the entire season and even better here. But I also consider it a bit of a letdown that Groger was a fake, and that the setup is a bit contrived as Discord really should have been smarter than this. So I don't think that it breaks the story. It bothers me somewhat, but not as much as, let's say, when they forgot that there can't be a sunset if Celestia and Luna are incapable to move the sun and the moon like in School Race. Well, and then there's Twilight's reaction to the reveal that Discord sets the whole Sombra thing up.
Look what a great job you did defeating Sombra. All the confidence you gained. Remember the cheering? The hoof bumps?
Except it was all a lie.
A well-intentioned lie.
For all the time you spent with us, you really haven't picked up too much in the way of friendship lessons, huh?
You've been setting up challenges for us the whole time, haven't you? None of our successes were actually real.
I know she's twilighting, but what are you smoking? He only set up the Sombra thing. Unless you're telling me that he went to the Storm King, told him about the Staff of Sakanas, and that he totally should invade Equestria, you are deluding yourself. Not to mention that one of your accomplishments was Discord himself, and that's not even mentioning Nightmare Moon. He was a statue, while Chrissy attacked for the first time, and he even was tricked into joining Tyrek in Season 4. He didn't set up any of that.
But we've been in tough spots before, and we always— Look around. Nothing we've ever done has mattered. Sombra returned and destroyed the Tree of Harmony. Chrysalis, T-Rex, Cozy Glow returned and more powerful than ever. The School of Friendship shut down. Every pony in Equestria is so blinded by fear they can't remember what friendship is. Nothing we do makes any difference.
And they would have never returned if it wasn't for Discord messing up. Like really, you did an okay job. Well, on a second thought, you guys never defeated Chrissy and Cozy Glow to begin with. Chrissy was fought by the power of love and catalog wedding and Starlight reforming the Changeling Hive after you guys were all captured off screen into where and back again. So if you want to lament that you guys fucked up, you should do it because of that. I can understand that Twilight loses her confidence in these circumstances, but I really don't like how the story twists the facts to make it look like everything has been arranged by Discord from the very beginning. It bends over backwards to justify Twilight's meltdown when that justification is completely unnecessary. And speaking of Twilight, you know what bothers me even more about her than that? Everyone sacrificed themselves so she can escape and come up with a plan to defeat the villains. And she comes up with nothing because she's depressed. Okay, fair enough. Then her friends manage to escape on their own and cheer her up. And then we get this.
We still need a plan. Okay, 3 of our worst villains have taken over. Powered up by ancient magic. Every pony in Equestria is so scared and divided that the Wendigos are circling. And it's up to us to fix it all.
What are we gonna do, Twilight?
The same thing we do every time, Pinky. Try to save the world.
Now you would expect that she came up with a great plan right there and not just that Pinky and the Brain joke they probably wanted to do since season 1. But no, they got nothing. They just meet Chrissy, Cozy and Tyrek on the open field. And then Twilight comes up with a tactic on the fly, which goes about as well as you would expect. You know, it was at this moment that I sort of realized that Twilight, who's supposed to be so smart, never actually used her brain to defeat anyone except maybe Trixie in Magic Duel. And yes, Twilight, you are the failure you make yourself out to be. You accomplished nothing in this episode that is really worth talking about. The heavy lifting was basically done by the Young Six, who did your job and gathered all the armies in Equestria. This in particular annoys me, cause that was the freaking lesson in the season opener.
I know what you're gonna say. I should have called on you as soon as I knew how dangerous it was. A good leader knows when to ask for help, and I didn't. And because of me, the Tree of Harmony was destroyed. Equestria deserves some pony much better than me as its leader.
You're right.
Oh.
About one thing. A good leader knows when to ask for help.
Guess Twilight learned nothing in that episode, or in between Dark and Dawn for the matter, because like in these 2 episodes, Twilight and her friends tried to handle everything themselves and failed. It would have been way more fitting if Twilight had gathered that army herself. I mean, you can still involve the Young Six if you want to, just spin it like they are acting on Twilight's orders. Just indicates that Twilight sends them a message or something like that. This way the Young Six still get their moment to shine, but don't act like a Deus Ex Machina. Heck, as far as this episode is concerned, those 6 probably would make for better rulers of Equestria than Twilight. Well, those 6 and the Pegasus and Unicorn, I guess. Yeah, another thing that was rather heavy-handed was the whole prejudice again. The Unicorn Master Race thing was somewhat funny when it was a meme in the fandom, and I think it works pretty well on a small scale, like in the Summer Sunset back, but frankly it sort of breaks my suspension of disbelief here. Chrissy and Cozy had been planting distrust between Earth, Pegasus and Unicorn ponies to a degree that they distrust each other so much that the Wendigo show up. It sort of feels like it happened overnight, and I have a hard time believing that none of the main cast would get wind of that, considering how widespread it is in the end. Like, if you really want to go down this route, you should have made it a subplot throughout the entire season, that the pony tribes lose faith in each other. But perhaps the worst thing about this is, I think it's incredibly cynic, that 3 individuals could plant that seed with no one noticing that everything starts falling apart, especially in a society that was literally founded on the values of unity among them, and that they will all be killed by Wendigos if they aren't friends with each other. I mean, they all know the heartwarming Eve story. I like to be more optimistic than that and think that there's more to it. And I don't think it really adds that much to the story either. Sure, it makes sense. If everyone is at each other's throats, they obviously can't use the magic of friendship, but I think it wouldn't make much of a difference. Tyrek, Cozy and Chrissy are pretty much unstoppable anyway, and you could just have them run away when they show up until someone gathers them for that scene. It ties a bit into the themes, I suppose. The villains try to separate everyone, but they come together anyway to defeat them. But for the most part, it feels like they just want to raise the stakes even further. Though I gotta admit, that moment when the army shows up is pretty epic. And hey, they are at least more effective than the Shinobi army in Naruto, which was basically just there to get slaughtered after they came to aid Naruto in the final battle. What, did you expect me to make an endgame reference here? Well, I guess I just did. And hey, they even brought Fizzlepop along, who finally did her uniform. It really bothered me that she walked around with the Storm King symbol on her flank in the comics. Well, why is she helping with that shield spell? Her whole shtick is that she can only use unstable destructive energy blast with her horn. Also, they remembered that Skystar and Queen Nova exist, and they even brought back the Kirin! And is that little Strongheart? Never expected to see her again. I guess everyone is here.
The elements showed me and my friends how strong our friendship could be. Together we worked to bring harmony to Equestria. But there will always be more to do, which is why we teach others about the magic of friendship. Others who will continue our mission after we are gone. Now I truly understand. The elements were just symbols. The real magic has always been right here. And the more who understand how powerful friendship is, the stronger we will all be. Together.
You only get that now. Hey, remember the time you defeated Sombra after you destroyed the elements? Speaking of which, I'm rather irritated that the Treehouse of Harmony didn't appear in this episode. Like, what was the point of that then? Besides that though, it's a pretty decent friendship speech. Sure, it's a bit cheesy, but this is to be expected, and I do like the angle they take to show the three generations, the Pillars, the main six, and the young six, side by side for the final Rainbow Blast. So yeah, that was pretty awesome. So the Rainbow Blast only depowers the three villains. Celestia is furious and doesn't know what to do with them until this god suggests to turn them into stone, and helps Celestia and Luna doing so.
Did you miss me, Celestia? I've missed you. It's quite lonely being encased in stone, but you wouldn't know that, would you? Because I don't turn ponies into stone.
Well, so much for that moral high ground. And yeah, frankly, I almost expected them to force another redemption down our throat, but no, these three are just don't know. Well, you know, I'm okay with that. Not quite sure why they didn't do that in the first place with Tyrek, if it is apparently a better way to deal with villains than sealing them away in Tartarus, but okay. That being said, I'm still not a big fan that the show staff decided to make Koziglo an unredeemable villain. I sort of accepted it now, and obviously she kinda had it coming. Where you maybe could have made an argument in Kozi's favor after School Race, she certainly stepped over the line here. I just don't like that the writers went to this extreme with a child. For more on that, watch my review of School Race. Now, after the villains are defeated, Twilight decided to postpone her coronation a bit, and they hang out at donut shows, which I would consider somewhat random, but as it is a callback to the first season finale as the best act ever, I think it makes perfect sense, putting me in a rather nostalgic mood actually, ending the episode on a rather satisfying note. Well, and here are some minor complaints that just keep nagging me. First of all, Tyrek fights the Pillars of Equestria and defeats them with barely any effort, and even absorbs the magic. I'm okay with that, it was a pretty cool scene, but I can't get over the fact that he and Star Swirl never addressed his first defeat right there. Remember how Tyrek was originally sealed away after Star Swirl convinced Scorpion to betray his brother? Well, the writer seemingly forgot, because I'm pretty sure that Tyrek would take this battle way more personal. And then there are Celestia and Luna, who again managed to be rather useless. They finally decide to do something, and Kozi immediately steals their magic. Like, you can give Starlight a pretty cool fight scene with Chrissy, but those two go down like Leroy Jenkins, and then later they manage to fight the villains for a bit, so the main six can escape. Okay, they had Starlight backing them up, but I still don't buy it that they would last longer than 5 seconds there. And why don't you give them that last stand where they try to buy Twilight and her friends some time before they lose their magic? They got totally upstaged by Starlight. Well, and then there's of course the fact that Cadence and Shining Armor do nothing whatsoever. Now, Twilight's reasoning that they should stay behind in case they fail makes some sense, I guess, but in that case it would only be a matter of time. Why don't you change it up a bit instead of fighting the villains in some random wasteland that they arrive at the Crystal Empire, making it an actual last stand, and Twilight could show off her strategic mind by organizing the defense until reinforcements arrive. And with that being said, let's wrap things up. The ending of the end still has a stupid episode title, but is nonetheless a pretty epic conclusion for the series. While I do have my fair share of complaints, I do think that the good things far outweigh the bad. In particular, the build-up throughout the season and the structure of this episode were handled really well. There are some plot holes and contrivances, but it sorta comes together for one last showdown that was a blast to see. I certainly enjoyed it way more than to wear it back again, Shadowplay, School Race, or the movie. But now I have one last problem to discuss, but we do this this next time. In the meantime, tell me what you think about this episode. Anything that bothered you. Do you think it was a worthy finale? Let me know in the comments below. I'm Tricky Fox. Stay foxy.